Welcome to the Road is Dead podcast. I'm your host, Rob Curtis, here in the studio with
Leah, Sanda.
Kenny Labbe.
Hey, Kenny's back. Joining us remotely, we have
Tim Strelecki.
All
as
right.
always.
Not as always. We had 2 episodes ago. We didn't have you.
Oh, yeah. You don't need me.
God damn it.
Jeez.
We absolutely need you. Just stop. We enjoy having you. I want you here. The amount of feedback I get.
People are more interested to hear about your racing than the guy who babbles into a mic all day. So,
or the guy that just sits here and makes a pathetic Cat 4 bullshit race into a 45-minute recap.
And until Big Bear becomes a series, they need you because it was a one-time deal. They didn't need you.
Is that what our audience is in for? An hour-long explanation of the Cat 4 race?
Not intentionally, but sometimes that's what I do.
Well, it's Rob. We'll start the timer.
They used to really enjoy when I would write blog posts. I need to go back to blog posts. I hear that's coming back. That would be kind of cool if it came back. If you are listening and you know that it's coming back, send me an email and give me some links to some blog posts. You send the email to roadisdead@gmail.com. All one word, roadisdead@gmail.com. That's the first plug. Should we get them all out of the way? Buy some buttonhole chamois cream. Also go to Tread Savvy to get wheels or tires.
There you go.
So anyway, another week in the cyclocross season, which seems to both at the same time go by very slow and yet go by in the blink of an eye in my kind of perception of it. Because I feel like I'm just starting, and now I almost feel like, oh God, there's not many races left. I got to get to a wall. Tim, you last weekend went down to Indy, correct? It was Indy, right?
Yeah, at the Major Taylor cyclocross at the velodrome there.
Yep.
The whole Indy cycloplex, as it's called. So
now you have gone before, yes?
No, this was my first time I ever raced a cyclocross race there. I've wanted to, but for whatever reason, when I always got to this point in the series or the year, the cyclocross season, I was always like, I'm not going to go. So I'd always, I'll go next year. And then this time I finally committed. So it was nice. It was hard. Great course, great track, little variance between the days. Saturday was one day, Sunday was a different day. Pretty cool to race, on the infield of a velodrome. That was interesting. Enter the velodrome, do a couple little squiggly lefts and rights, and then out of the velodrome and up some stairs. It was really cool environment. I'm glad I went. It's something it's close by. It's 3.5 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool to see some of our locals there.
Oh, like who?
I don't know. Some of the Molly Maid kids. I think Henry Flente was there, and I think Luke Wagliardo, I think that's his name. He was there amongst some of the other riders on that squad were there, so they had a little presence. It was cool, and it's always good to just get out in an environment that you're not familiar with and familiarize yourself with it. So when you do go back in the following year or the years to come, you kind of know the lay of the land.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, in my opinion, that it's super helpful. I would agree with that. Where to park the next time, where to set up and how to warm up.
The first time you go to Trek, it's like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. But then the next year you go, and every year thereafter, it gets super easy, and you don't even there's no nerves because you know everything. You know the proceedings, when, your race schedule, unless you change category, usually stays the same as far as start times. Which I find that throughout the races I did in October, the Masters always start in the 10 o'clock hour with, the 1-2s and the single speeds. So, that's at least a familiarity. But yeah, no, it was a good track. It was hard. I'm dealing with a very tight posterior chain right now, so my back is just thrashed. There was a lot of climbing on both days, and not just climbing that you can just sit in the saddle and kind of use your easiest gear. I'm giving it all the beans that I physically have to make it up this, and I'm not making it still.
Yeah.
So,
I've
so
heard
the
that
first
about
day,
that venue.
yeah, like you come out of the velodrome, you run up some stairs, you get on your bike, you make a little U-turn, and they have this like really steep, incline. And a lot of people rode it, I just didn't. When I pre-rode it on Saturday, I was like, you know what? I'm more efficient if I get off the bike here and just run because my running is solid. So I'll save energy if I run. I don't need to be cool for Instagram or the crowd or anybody to try and waste my energy to ride up this thing when there's still half a track left to go after this hill. So I just ran it all day and that was good. And then the next day, that hill was taken out. The whole velodrome itself was taken out. That whole portion was taken out and shifted to a different portion of the hillside on some really steep off-camber stuff. But you know, there was a descent and then basically a hard U-turn at the bottom at a dead stop and then just a wall. And
Yeah.
it took everything to get up it. So it was a very challenging track, but it was balanced because you had those high moments of high power output. You had very technical stuff. You had barriers. You had a lot of fast off camber, like steep off camber, to deal with, and then the flattest part, like what I will call myself, not being a local, like the basin around like pit one and pit two, was pretty much flat and it just winded through a meadow, but it was the bumpiest I've ever been on in my life. Like
Yeah.
way worse than any Milwaukee park you've ever ridden, and just oh, so bumpy. And the only
Worse
way to
than
get
that one field that we have up in Woodstock that we used to go across when you come up out of the woods in the back.
yeah.
That's a
But
really
it
bumpy section.
yeah, but it was so bumpy, and the only way to like smooth it out was put it in your hardest gear and just sit in the saddle and
Grind it.
try not to bounce around. So yeah, my back's just lit up right now, but it's coming around. But great race put on by, I guess it's in the OVCX series, the Ohio Valley Cyclocross series.
Mm.
So super cool, really good layout, very professional. Highly recommended, for locals that are looking to get outside of the Illinois, Wisconsin bubble. Like I said, it's only 3.5 hours. It's right on the outside of downtown Indianapolis. It's right off the highway.
Yeah.
Like you don't get off the highway and drive 20 miles inland. It's right there. You drive right by it. So it's super simple to get to. Logistics are very easy, well run. A lot of the Marion students kind of take the brunt work of being volunteers, which is nice. It was really cool atmosphere, really really fun event to be at.
Cool.
Nice.
Was it dry all weekend? I take it.
Yes. Yes. Not even, a little, chilly in the morning, a little bit of dew, but it didn't even get on the track. Like the first few junior races just completely wiped any of the dew out. So yeah, pretty much bone dry.
Nice. Now, what'd you choose for treads?
I used PDX again because for a few reasons. I started the weekend on Friday. I started with chicane and I was like, I think this is the tire. But then I was like, on a lot of these off cameras, I know I have bite, but I don't want to roll a tire and I don't want to have to slow down. I want to go as fast as I want to go. And the way I justified that for myself was by having as much grip and tread as I possibly could. And then in the back section, the basin section that I was speaking of, where it's really bumpy, I'm like, these tires are bulletproof. I can run them considerably lower than I feel like I could run a challenge casing and not flat. I had the fear of flatting in my mind. Everywhere else was pretty smooth, but I'm telling you guys, this was so bumpy.
Nice.
Sounds
So
miserable.
bumpy. Like calluses on your hands, bumpy. But yeah, so I chose that, and like I just wanted bite on the off camber, and I wanted traction in the back for all those steep climbs. And I didn't want to like wheel spin and like zzz, zzz, zzz. So I chose that. I mean, I had PDX, I had Griffo, and I had chicane. So
Nice.
I went with my PDX again. Yeah, I mean, I think.
How did your races?
Oh, go ahead.
How was your competition? How'd the races play out?
Fields were my field wasn't huge. I think it was like 15 guys.
Mhm.
I think a lot of guys are focused further out or maybe focused on Pan Am's coming up, Nationals coming up. But yeah, it was a good field. I mean, there was good competition in it. I think got the whole shot both days, which was really cool. And then led from start to finish both days. You know, the barrier, the thing for me was the barriers came early. So, you know, once I got there, it was like kind of game over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nice.
well, not game over. Not, I don't want to say game over, but I knew they came in like the first minute and a half. So I would at least get some separation there
Yeah.
and then just not have to mess up the rest of the first lap, to ensure that, you know, my gap grew. But it's, I
Now,
mean, it's really a dynamic track because you have all the off camber, you have all the climbing, you have a dual slalom mountain bike track that you ride down that's got, you know, it's got a left-hand berm, right-hand berm, a little rock garden you ride through, another right-hand berm, left-hand berm, big ass tabletop at the end of it. So I was like, oh, this is cool, but it's sketchy as hell.
yeah.
It was super sketchy. Yeah, because one line, you know, one line didn't have all the berms built up. One line had all the berms, but it was the main line and a lot of braking bumps. So it was kind of sketchy. I got a little bit of head shake in there a couple times. Heard my bike make some weird noises.
Eh,
You know,
Yeah.
whatever. It's carbon fiber. It's going to make noise, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Pretty much. You said you created a separation there at the barriers. Why? I mean, we know why, but why don't you explain it to people that haven't seen you race?
Oh, well, as an old man, I have the ability to hop the barriers, you know, which I see more and more of. Like, there's more, you know, more masters racers giving it a try. There's more juniors doing it, you know, both on the male and female sides. The elite categories are doing it now. So it's becoming it's becoming common. Like, if you want to get good at cyclocross, you have to learn how to do this this skill set, um, in order to run at the front of the races. And it's a pretty, you know, it's a skill set that I've had in my back pocket for 45 years, being
Yeah.
that my background's in BMX, and it's a simple thing for me to do. It's not simple for other people, but it allows me to, you know, race races the way I want to race races. And that was my whole goal. Like, just get a good start, get a good solid start. It doesn't matter if you're, you know, first to the first corner, third, just get to the barriers and let them take care of itself. And that's what happened there. So
Nice.
that's good. That's good.
So
Cool.
you were able to hop the barriers, and the other people that you were racing against just didn't do it. They all dismounted.
Yeah, well, it was kind of, you went past pit one, you did a little kind of like left, right, left through a fence, then you hooked a hard left 180, and they were like right out of the corner. So there wasn't a huge run up to them. So you had to, you know, be in the proper gear, get to the barrier, hop the barrier, and then after that you went on to, there was like a big nice round berm off camber that went around the skate park that's there. So that was your, you know, if you're running the barriers, you got to negotiate some off camber to get back on your bike. Whereas me, it's just like hop and then find the right line on the off camber, and then after that, it was like two turns and then onto some asphalt.
Yeah.
So I could get over the barrier, get through the off camber, get on the asphalt, and then just haul ass to the velodrome. And by then it was, you know, 5-10 bikes.
Yeah.
Would
Nice.
would the barriers have, right at the turn, you said right after a turn, would there have been a few guys that would have bunny hopped them if it was a straight lead in, but because it was a tight turn and then you hit them, that eliminated it to just to you then?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's barriers it comes down to a lot about their placement. I think a lot of what spooks a lot of people out is carrying speed into them. So if we're on a long straightaway and then the barriers are coming up, you know, people have to brake really hard. Where, you know, if I myself understand the speed that I can take them at, as long as they're spaced properly, um, I can do that a lot faster. But the one thing I was worried about with the barriers being where they were was I always took a wide entry into the corner and held the wide line. So I was afraid that someone or some few guys would come on the inside and chop it, you know, cut off my line if they, you know, were smart and get off early and take my line away as I'm riding, but luckily that never happened. And it's really hard to manage when you have to when you're placed with other fields. You know, elite 1, 2, 3, non-UCI takes off first, single speed goes next, and the masters 40 and 50 plus are last. So there's riders in front of you, and you gotta like really think the first lap, because with lappers it's kill or be killed. You know, the lappers can really destroy your race. And when my perspective is in the opening lap, I'm gonna make a lot of people angry because I'm gonna pass you and I'm gonna pass you aggressively, and that's gonna allow me separation in my race from the people that I'm racing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like elbow you into a fence, but I'm gonna give you an opportunity to move, and if you don't move, then I'm gonna move you.
So your confident passing might be more than your competition, and where they might hesitate to make a pass if it's coming into a turn or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and then I
using
just,
that using that to your advantage.
yeah, and I just think, there's probably a lot of guys in the field that don't have the mindset that I have, per se, like meaning like this is just we're just old men riding bikes. Why do I need to do this? Where I'm just like, make an announcement, and I'm just like headbutting dudes out of the way.
Legal. Hands on the bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the first day, the winning gap was like a minute and a half. I think the second day was almost 3 minutes.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was just 50 plus straight up, right?
Yeah, 50 plus 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
So it's good. It's nice. Like I've been wanting to do this race for quite some time, and I finally made it down there. And if things are right in the future, it's one I'd like to continue to attend.
I've always wanted to make it down there. I haven't. I used to have a lot of reasons to go down there. My family was on the north side of Indy there, and
Yeah.
at one point Carmel and then Westfield. But
Mhm.
then we moved my dad out, so I got no family there. I was born in Indianapolis. If I want to go,
Mhm.
I guess if I want to go and visit, I'm not going to get into the details there, but
On the way back from nationals in 18 in Louisville, we went stopped by. Sorge was about 14 years old, and he poked through the fence and it's
at the
9
velodrome.
o'clock at night. Showed him the velodrome and stuff. It would have been semi-cross and track because he was doing both. But we took a peek at it on the drive home.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool facility. I mean, the velodrome's there. It's well lit. It's like the center of the whole campus. You got a little skate park for those that want to do skate park. Got the mountain bike. Got the BMX track, which I think I raced on in 1989.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So that was kind of like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that velodrome is the first velodrome I ever saw.
Full circle moment.
I got into cycling in the late 80s. And then, like I said, we would always go through Indianapolis, and I knew of the velodrome.
Yeah.
And I was dropped off with some family friends, a Pearl Harbor veteran, believe it or not, but our old next door neighbor. And they were watching me while my mom was going and doing some other errands in a different part of the state. And he was like, yeah, well, what do you want to do today? And I was like, I hear there's a velodrome. I want to see what it's like. And so he loaded me up in the car. We drove out there. We walked into the infield, and it was the first velodrome I was ever at. So I do like it, and it holds a little special place for me because of that. That I would have considered my hometown velodrome if I had gotten into track racing at a decent age instead of in my 30s or 40s.
Does the traveling going over to Kings in Ohio and then now to Indy and then obviously the Wisconsin courses, is this stuff that might affect what you're going to try to do on course design for Woodstock? Have you observed a couple things?
There's, every track is uniquely different. No matter, if it's here in Chicago or Woodstock or Wisconsin or wherever you travel to, it's like I've had conversations with Rob, and I've heard other track designers say you can't design the track for you, because if I design the track for me, I'm going to make it hard, but it's going to suck for everyone else. I would like to challenge our participants in a way that maybe they haven't been challenged all year wherever they've raced, but not make it, so they never want to come back.
Right.
I think along those lines. I think a lot of people have been listening to us this season and kind of have that in mind and are looking for more difficult courses. I think we've
Yeah.
been kind of pushing it a little bit in the right direction. We haven't been pushing the limit of it by any means, but we've been pushing it in the right direction.
That was Mother Nature that pushed it at
Yeah,
Big
well,
Marsh.
at
It
Big
wasn't-
Marsh, but
yeah.
also just the
Yeah.
design of the venue too. I did get some intel that there are plans to make it much larger. And that park is much larger than what we saw. We're in one very small section of it. So
Hmm.
down the road, there supposedly may or may not end up having more parking. They may or may not have more of a permanent cyclocross venue that is in a completely different part of the park there. So hopefully it's not in. Apparently there's an alkali lake there that's got fencing around it. So hopefully we don't go through that because it would melt our skin off if we did that. But
That's Bubbly Creek.
hey, it's beautiful. It's beautiful for where it is, but you can't ever forget its industrial past. It is what it is. But speaking of which, we had one of the guys on our teams. Afterwards, he was cleaning off his cleats and he found a coin that was in his cleat that was like what, a half dime or something.
I think
It wasn't a nickel.
a
It was
nick-
like a half
Okay.
dime or something, and it was from 1890 something or whatever, and it came out of the mud at Big Marsh, which
Wow.
was pretty neat. With
kinda
a lot
cool.
of its cladding worn away, probably from the alkalinity of the soil. But
All right, what's your takeaway on season and goal for nationals? So you've had a nice block of racing with traveling, and obviously good competition at Kings, and really good racing for a number of weeks. I think you said, oh gosh, we're gonna fail this. Five out of 7 victories.
5 out of 6.
5 out of
Yeah.
6. Sorry about that. So,
Yeah.
so how do you assess that where you're at, and because it's still away until nationals?
Yeah, no, I think it's been going well. I have no complaints. Every race has been different. My goals for each race are different. I obviously when I go to uh, bigger races, I want to do well. I want to prove that I belong. So getting the results that I've gotten over the month of October has been really good. But there's always more of a goal rather than just a result. Results are nice, but if you're not getting a result with any improvement, it's kind of a moot point. So I try to do well first and foremost. That is my goal. But in there, I try to focus on some things that will make me better. My fundamentals, my basics. Am I dismounting clean? Am I remounting clean? Am I getting in my cleats? Am I hitting my pedals at the start? Am I choosing the right gear? Am I choosing the right gear in and out of every corner? Are my bunny hops clean? Is just my riding in general clean? And these are things that I identify when I'm training during the week, or if I have something that is I feel like maybe a miss during the event, like I will go through in the weeks prior and make sure I check those boxes. So when time comes for nationals where you need to be, firing on all cylinders, you've done the work. And that's really all you can do when you put such a big goal in front of yourself, is make sure you've checked all the boxes leading up to it and go there knowing you prepared as best as you can, and whatever happens, happens.
I know that you were disappointed. I think day 1 at Kings, the other guy was faster on the day. Second day, the
Oh,
weather was more to your liking, and it turned to your favor. And then this weekend was obviously a successful weekend. Do you normally, especially with a lot of Wisconsin racing the last number of years on Saturdays, do you feel that 2 days of racing that there's no difference? There was different weather at Kings. Do you feel there's no difference on your form and your legs opening up, or do you feel better on day 2, or sometimes fatigue could come in? And then how would that go for possibly a midweek or a Friday nationals for your race? How would you, if day 2 is the answer, then you'd have to somehow simulate or do the non-championship race or something the day
yeah.
before to get that day 2 vibe.
I'm usually two double weekends are hard at first, but I feel like I've done enough of them over the years that it doesn't take my body too much time to acclimate to Saturday, Sunday racing versus as, a Saturday or a Sunday alone. I'm typically better on day two. I'm typically better on a Sunday, just because I've been opened up on Saturday. It all depends. Like I felt like this weekend went well. I had my bad weekend at Kings, where Saturday was kind of flat, Sunday was good.
Second is flat. Second,
Um, well, not I don't mean the placing. I'm talking about like the
the placing.
sensations.
Yeah.
The sensations that your body's giving you, your heart rate, your comparative to the power output, and you just and just to some days you just don't have it. And that Saturday at Kings. Like I didn't take my foot off the gas after Trek. I stayed in a hard week after that, and then took the week leading up to Kings a little lighter. Saturday was obviously flat. Sunday was much better. Not a ton physically, but got to play in the mud, so that's always cool, and that lightens your spirits. And then I feel like I did everything right leading up to Major Taylor, and the warm-ups were dialed. They were timed perfectly. I was able to hit all the marks I needed to hit in my warm-up with the legs feeling good, and yeah, I'm usually able to handle quite a heavy weekend back to back, and I think
Nice.
that'll set the stage well for nationals. I just gotta, like you said, Kenny, I have to figure out how to work uh, the days leading up to it. I mean, I'm pretty sure at how I want to spin it, but our race isn't until Sunday, or my race isn't until Sunday, which is the last day.
Mhm.
And they don't have non-championship races anymore.
Right. I had
And
to
if
check the
they,
schedule. Right.
yeah, I don't think they have them anymore, or if they do, they're like industry or mixed or something like that. So maybe we go and either do a hard ride or we just do a really elongated opener session. I don't know. I gotta figure that out. But you know, I've learned that you can't. How can I say this? You can't put too much of an emphasis on nationals because it'll just crumble you mentally if you can't
Just a
handle
race.
if you can't handle it. It's just a bike race. But that's how my approach was last year, and I was devastated. I was
Right.
I was devastated. I mean, I bawled in my changing towel for 20 minutes.
Right.
I cried on Leah's shoulder
I
Yep.
remember.
because as much as I tried to deflect that, oh, it's just another bike race, whatever happens, happens, I didn't realize until that moment in time how much it actually meant to me.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
So what's next? What's coming up for you in the next weeks?
well, I'm not racing this weekend. I don't know if I'll race next weekend. I kind of just want to I just want to recover from October, absorb it all, and continue to train properly, give my body a chance to soak it all in. And then I'll probably go to Wisco for their state championship. Maybe another one of ours. I don't know if it'll be a wheeling or um, I don't know. I'm not going to Montrose because I'm leaving like the day after for nationals.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I got to look at the schedule, but a couple more
You're
Wisconsin,
you're
maybe
not
one of
doing
ours.
regionals in Wisconsin this weekend?
No, check that box already. 2016. Dude,
Yeah.
I won a national championship. It didn't mean anything to anybody. A regional championship's not going to mean anything to anybody either.
I don't. But then you're leaving the door open for PJ.
No, he can have it. Tell me where to send the bow. I'll give it to him.
I don't know what they're giving out this year.
Maybe
Kringles.
I'll just be the asshole that shows up for the state championship and races the masters class.
There you go.
Don't race it all year. I'll just I'll be the last one on the grid.
I can hear Jason's response to that right now. Well,
I would
that's
never do that. That's disrespectful.
eh,
That's disrespectful. No, it's totally disrespectful.
you got to race who shows up.
It's not a stage race. It's a series.
No, I know. But that's been done. I've mentioned this before on this podcast. That's been done to me before, and I didn't. I still don't approve of it.
Well, it's a bit like when God, Tilford
Yeah,
showed up.
I was just about to say that. He
Yeah.
raced. He didn't race Masters all season until
And then
the
he
end,
showed
and he
up
showed up
at
to the nationals.
Masters for national championships up in Verona and beat Wayne.
Well, there's dudes that do that all the time. They'll race elite and they'll race the UCI all year, and then they go and race the Masters race at nationals.
You used to not be able to do that. I don't remember what it was. There was some rule that made it so that you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But then they got rid of that.
Or you couldn't do both. You had to choose.
Yeah, you had
So
to choose.
I think if you were on a trade team, like if you were a pro, you couldn't go amateur and race Masters, that kind of stuff. Maybe I don't know if it
I was talking to Kerry Werner at Trek for a minute. I went over there and I was talking to him, and he's kind of in his retirement thing. Him and Carolyn are in their retirement year, and he's like, "You think I could race Masters?" And I was like, "No, dude, you can't. You have to like surf the sofa for a couple years.
Yeah.
You just can't bounce out of the UCI category and show up and race Masters.
Well, I mean,
this
you
year.
can, but don't be a
No,
dick.
I don't think you can.
Oh, you can.
I think there's a rule against that.
Well, there was a rule against it because I know that's what used to keep Laura Van Gilder from doing Masters nationals. She could do elite nationals for cross,
what
but
your license is, right? If you have
well,
if you have a
I
UCI
really
license.
don't. It had to do with whether or not you did UCI races or had any UCI points.
Yeah.
Is what I think it was based on. But it's been a rule that's been gone for many years because she did come back and she did win nationals same year that Sydney did, and then she went and did worlds right after that.
I'll tell you one other thing that's got me a little nervous. My old buddy Todd Wells.
Ooh.
Everybody knows Todd Wells. Everybody knows Todd Wells. I do follow him and we chat a little bit through Instagram. But I do see that he's racing cyclocross again, and I'm just like, God damn it! If you show up at Fayetteville, I'm gonna be pissed
Isn't
off.
his kid racing?
Yeah, his kid Cooper. He's really good. He's the current. He won nationals last year. He just won I think he won some criteria. I think he won crit nats. Kid's like super good.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, obviously. But yeah, I saw Todd's doing a couple cross races, and I was like, oh man.
That'll just
We're gonna take this back to the New York State Championship, 1987.
You want to talk about Sycamore at all?
Yeah,
let's hear it.
I mean, we
Let's
need
hear
to.
it.
nice job.
Did you jump the car?
Jump is a very iffy term. I went over the
Rode
car
over it?
many times.
I saw you were smart and ran the off camber.
Yes. So, okay. So I'll go back and I'll start. I went and Jim, I know you're listening. Jim, it was a great event, great venue. I do love it. For those of you that this rumor keeps persisting in the CCC that somehow this is a one and done venue. It is definitely not. It'll be back next year. We're pretty much done with Sunrise Park as far as I know. Obviously, Jim can come and change that at any point in time. It's his prerogative. He's a promoter, but he really enjoyed the venue this year. I got to say, I love the venue. Absolutely love the venue. I was out there all day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
The Kurth family rolled their camper out there, RV, and they spent the night there, over the weekend. And I think they talked us into doing it by camping in our tents over the weekend next year, which I think is where we're going to head and do. And yes, I'm sorry I'm getting these texts, and yes, I am looking, but it has to do with terrorists. Anyway.
Terrorists don't concern the podcast right now.
Yeah, they do. Well, they do in about 5 minutes when I cover them. Because there's been a massive change, breaking news.
Who cares?
You'll see. So the venue was really good.
It was also on a velodrome for
Oh,
cars.
yeah, basically.
Car velodrome.
Yeah, there's some challenges there. There's some challenges there because if it ever does actually get wet, it's going to be an issue. It's going to be a problem because we're basically not going to be able to use the racetrack at all. Because that clay it's one of the last clay tracks around. It's not just a dirt track. It is full on clay. And the infield was kind of wet because they wet it down a lot. And the infield was wet, the very center of it. And Anthony, at one point during one race on, I think, Saturday, turned and looked behind him. And as he was coming across the start finish line, violating my cardinal rule of never look back, unless you have to. he ended up veering off and got into the wet area in the infield, and it covered his bike like instantly,
Cement.
and it did not come off. He had to physically remove all of it after his race. I mean, it was like a full on mudder in just the 5 seconds he was in that mud. It will stick to everything, and it is solid clay. So if there's ever a year where it's really rainy, that could be an issue. We would have to be off of that track, but there's a lot. So it's very flat, very hard pack everywhere, almost all gravel out in the parking lot, and that's where a lot of the race takes place. And having set a lot of those stakes, I can tell you that even the grass there, about maybe an inch, 2 inches down, it's gravel. So I mean, there's almost nowhere to really stick stakes in. So it took a very long time to set stakes. I got there to help lay out the course, like I had said in the last podcast. I owe Jimmy. I'm always going to go out there, and I'm always going to help him. So, and it's not just that. I like to go out there and help, obviously. So when I got there, Drake had been setting stakes, and he had that whole off camber behind the racetrack. He had one path. He came down it from the track where you entered, and so across the top of the off camber, for those that raced it would know, it's the only flat spot. And then you would go down, do your sweeping turn over the car, and come back up, and then do one track of off camber and out. And I saw that, and I was like, well, first of all, you're not even using the off camber. It's a flat section on the top. And secondly, I looked at Jim, and I was like, this is the only feature here on this entire, venue. Let's use every inch of it. And he was like, cool, whatever, man, mark it out. Because, it's always weird coming into somebody else's course and being like, hey, do you mind if I completely reroute all this? He could have told me no, and that's fine. Obviously, it's his race. But he was like, yeah, no, go for it. So I actually staked out the sweeping off camber, back and forth on both sides. And I got to tell you that I don't know if it's the steepest off camber that we've ever run, but it definitely was the most intimidating. It wasn't the first turn that was bad. It was the second turn on both sides. And they were both at the same area of the grade, and it was extremely intimidating. Enough that I never figured it out. And that's just a bit of me, my traction, not feeling secure, my ribs, and I just haven't done the skill work this year. I haven't had the time to do skill work. So instead of doing the mental math of, how do I get through this, and let me just practice it, because I couldn't get over there and really practice, it felt like. So it was like, you know what? I'm just going to run it, because I can get off and run really quickly and get back on, and it's fine. So I just ran it every time. But setting it up, the rest of it, a lot of it was on gravel. We did everything we could to get straight lines across the gravel. There was one section where it had a bit of a curve. And while it was fine on the Saturday races, where there were a total like 40 people that raced all day, on the Sunday races, people were coming through that section with a lot of speed. And when they came through it, if you put any power down at all, you slid out and you hit the deck. And because you were already leaning pretty hard with that speed coming through it. And we had some pretty nasty injuries in the first race. So one of our guys, Dan, he ended up getting like 3 pretty deep gouges on his face, to the point where I was like, dude, you need stitches. So he left. He got treated. Ty looked him over while he was there. He left. He got treated, and that guy came back and raced the Cat 5 race at the end of the day. That's all I got to say. So he gets my award for cross man of the day. But we added, after the Saturday races, we added a lot of distance. And Leah, you helped set all that when you rode out there and did it. Just some back and forth, a lot of back and forth. So if I had to, there were moments where you would think kind of Jackson Parky, kind of like there's a lot of turns. There needed to be in order to really make use of the entire venue. There's areas that we could also use again and use slightly differently. He added another barrier for the second day, which was a good choice. It was in a good spot and technically made it for a good run. afterwards, like I was looking at my files yesterday when I was talking to Katie, and I had, I think, 13, 14 minutes on Sunday that was actually at threshold or above. And it was a 40-minute race, something like that. And I had over 20 minutes that were in power-wise in zone 1. So
just negotiating turns,
just
getting
turns.
off and running the side, the off campers. And all
I mean,
that.
my heart rate was pretty stable through it and actually raised towards the end, but power wise, there was a lot of getting, somebody mentioned, or Leah, or not Leah, Katie had mentioned to me that she didn't see a lot of like power dumping anywhere out there. There were only a couple spots where you could kind of open it up and put some power down. Now I say that obviously a lot of people finished in front of me, so they figured out other places to put power down. So that's all relative. But yeah, I mean, it's I don't want to use the word different, but it's different. It's a different kind of venue. I love that venue because I've been out to that place and watched, race cars out there many times over the years, and it's kind of a family thing for us. If you are into imbibing, which some people are, it's a very good venue for that. If you plan on doing that, they do have a bar on site, and it's extremely expensive. I think I took out 20 people for lunch on the first day, and I think it came to $150 for 20 people at lunch. I mean, that's ridiculous. So ridiculously cheap is what I'm saying. So you get a lot for your money out there for sure. I think a lot of people.
The fries were $2. It was a plate.
Oh yeah.
$2.
Whole plate.
Whole plate.
Yeah,
fries.
Did you guys use any of the off camber? When you enter the venue off of 64 and you go straight, like you're going straight into the track.
We couldn't use the off camber in the front, which is
okay.
what I think you're talking about. That they wanted that grass to stay looking nice just for the entrance, which I understand.
We'll earn his trust when he sees that we didn't damage.
Oh yeah. The owner there was there with us the whole time,
Brett.
through setup, and Brett through setup and through racing both days, and he brought out his family and everything else to watch the last few races of the day. He brought out a whole rack of beers from the bar to have us hand up, to people in the last race. So it was good. And he was just like shocked watching me hand up beers. He was trying to do it for a couple laps and no one was really taking it. And I was like, here, hand me one. And I ditched like 4 in like 5 minutes. And he's like, dude, here, just keep handing them up.
You're like a Swan Air in the tour.
Right. Oh, and I was doing the whole, hand it up, go up the hill. So it was a lot of fun. We got the crowd going, everybody going over you could tell, you get past the first couple people and everyone else is just on autopilot trying to get through their race, and then giving them something to race for, just chanting it, ride the car, and everybody.
There was no penalty or gain not to do it.
There was no gain for doing it.
Yeah, there was no. It was just for
for fun.
It was for fun.
Because when we put it in, when he first made it, the ramp coming in and the ramp going out were way too short and steep, and so we asked him to make it longer lead in, longer lead out. And he did that. And it was very not packed before. We're like, you need to like really run the equipment over it and get it as packed as you can, which he did, and made it very rideable. The only issue is it was an Accord that was in there.
I was.
Yeah.
What car was it?
It was a Honda Accord, and I figured that out because I actually lifted the hood at one point.
Of course.
and I looked at it and I was like, this is the exact same engine as in my Element. And I actually kind of thought for a minute, should I start stripping some parts?
Parts.
So, but it was a Honda Accord, and they had a roll cage in it, and so there was a roll cage in, and they had riveted the roof to the roll cage. So when you're coming across the top, you could see where there was reinforcement in the roof.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't see that part though, and it's just sheet metal on top there. So as you came across, it would go pop, pop, and give you that sheet metal pop, which scared the hell out of a lot of people. So they didn't like riding over it. They felt like they were going to go into it. But when we brought it into the course, we made a bigger lead in after the day one, and Brad built an A-line, B-line so that you could just ride around it. You didn't have to go over it. So anybody that rode over it chose to ride over it, and you didn't pay a penalty. The B line wasn't like a longer line or anything. It was just you actually could keep a little bit more speed not doing it. So
They could
anybody,
that
see a
turn.
series of cars next year, like 4 of them.
Oh gosh, yeah,
we-
a pump track of cars.
And that was a nice thing because
There you go.
they had that brick wall like 100 meters from the finish line, and they put dirt before
Yes.
and after that as well. So when you have an owner and you have a property, like whether it's Trek and they own the property, or you're at Cantini Park and they have full-time people,
and he's got a front loader.
they have, then he's got equipment, so the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually cool.
Yeah, the only elevation was that off-camber stuff that you had
Yeah.
redirected, but
I mean, it was that was the only elevation for the most part.
Dude, if they got space there and that guy's got heavy equipment, see if he's got access to sand. Make a sand pit.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Make a sand pit. That's a
Yep.
feature.
So anyway, Jim, you're listening. You can
yeah, there it is.
I can put
There
that
it
on your
is.
list for next
There it
year.
is.
But it's
One other thing then, in the morning on Sunday, because Saturday was a smaller event that you
Yeah.
said 40, but on Sunday morning, Brett came out and he's like, I can flip on the lights because 6 a.m. is dark until daylight savings
Oh,
ends.
wow.
And so he flipped on the lights, and obviously not only around the racetrack, but he's got them around the parking lot as well. And so like
Yeah.
right away, I think
It was
Jim
awesome.
and Canella were like, night race next year.
Yeah.
Probably not the CCC, but like a Saturday event if it is non-CCC.
Yeah.
They could. And Jim was like, "Yeah, we'll go like 2 in the afternoon till 8 o'clock at night, and then you'd have beer, you'd have nighttime cross, which nighttime cross has
camping.
been done before.
Offer
Vegas.
camping.
they need to
Cross.
open it up for camping.
No,
this
we
next year.
did that at one point in time in Wakanda, and it
was not well attended
it was not for
when
some
they
reason.
did that. But if you've already got the venue and it's not going to cost you any more, you might as
Right.
well just
Yeah.
throw it out there and do it. Because
I mean,
I know that as a family, we're going to turn it into an entire weekend next year. I'm positive of that.
mm, nice.
So racing wise, good racing. Some people, I think people that were apprehensive about it left there not being apprehensive and actually quite honestly surprised in a good way. They really did enjoy racing it. I think some people that thought it was going to be good left there and went, oh, I didn't like it because there was too much gravel, stuff like that. But,
Mhm.
we ride on all terrain. That's kind of the whole point of cyclocross. So there was definitely enough elements. I have ridden absolutely worse courses in my day. And so, I won't entertain any thought that wasn't a good course. It was a very good course. It's just a different type of race. You know how Campton is a certain style of race. Bartlett, it was a certain style of race. This is a certain style of race. So I think numbers will be much better next year. So on the numbers front, last year, the Bartlett race was the largest race of the entire season for pre-reg outside of Montrose. So they had 471 in pre-reg last year. This year, they barely cleared 300. It was like 330, I want to say, in that range.
Sycamore's a lot farther away than Bartlett is.
So that's some of the drawback is I know some people were like, oh, it's too far. Here's the truth, though. We used to race in Hopkins Park, and Hopkins Park is in DeKalb, and it is further than Sycamore. You would actually have to get back in your car and drive
3 miles to Sycamore.
Yeah.
Go through Sycamore. Go to the west side because it was on the east side of DeKalb.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, you'd be in
25 minutes away.
Oh yeah, 15 to 20 minutes at least, and
And
to
it's
get
only
there.
about 3 miles from Campton.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It literally is just down the road from the Campton venue.
Bike path.
So, it doesn't make any sense if people are saying it's too far. I would challenge everybody on that one because last I knew, the Hopkins Park race was done by Comrade in the city, and a bunch of city people showed up to that. So this is just people being.
I think new venue, nervousness,
Yeah.
and whatnot. I think the feedback has been pretty positive. I think it'll be a really much bigger event next year.
It is a tough 2 weeks, though. I mean, you had Big Marsh, a lot of question marks for riders, and they were answered, and it was spectacular. And then same thing here. When it was first announced at a car track, I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then when I thought about it a little bit, Tim's energy kind of came into my head. I said, well, that sounds just a little bit too gimmicky.
Gimmicky.
Like when forge was starting out, and some of the original ideas. And I'm like, this was like 2, 3, 4 weeks ago before I had any, obviously, just my own brain was thinking, I'm like, this is going to be too nutty. And then when we got out there, the Saturday race allowed us to tweak the course. You guys tweaked the course, so we had a bunch of little things, and so Sunday was fine.
Yeah, and Jim kept going back to it, going, it's being a first year venue. It is kind of hard to figure out some of the logistics of how the course is going to flow and what features need to be there, what features don't need to be there. But now that he's got that laid down, it should be a pretty easy set for next year.
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to ask him?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say if they didn't have the Saturday venue and everyone showed up on Sunday with a Saturday venue, a lot of people would have been like, "This is terrible." But the fact that you guys had the Saturday race and figured out, we need to lengthen this and we need to do different things, that afforded you to have a better event on Sunday.
Yeah, I would have to look at my lap times, which were no indicator, but my lap times on both days were normal lap times, I would say. Like I could have raced either course, but it races on the short side for sure.
Yeah.
And I think we had Peter Chapowski.
Shrubkowski?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a swim. Who's going to be swimming?
No. He raced Saturday, and he was turning 5-minute times, lap times, or slightly less from time to time. And he was doing that on his single speed. You know what I mean? So if you do race single speed, that's just a side note. It'd be a great venue for you to go to next year. You could easily race that race in a single speed.
It's not like Big Marsh. Right?
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of climbing. But, let's look at the big picture. The CCC's been around for quite a while, and this Bartlett was one of the original venues. Bartlett and Campton. Those are the two oldest races in the series for the most part. So we've moved on from the Bartlett venue. That leaves you Campton. Campton is this weekend, folks. So if you want to hit one of the original venues and really get a feel for what the CCC grew up from and came out of, I would highly recommend that you make it a point to go down there to see this race or to be a part of this race.
You're on Bicycle Heaven, right? Was there a job?
It was before me.
Well,
so they came in. Carl Hygen and Sean Hygen were the ones that originally did the first race out there. The first year they did anything before there was a series. And then they passed that off to Rob Kelly and crew. And I was out there that was the first race I was ever even around, like helping out before I even raced. So that would have been like 07 maybe, 07 or 08, probably 08. And within 5 minutes of me being there, I took over registration and started running it because that's how I am. And I knew that my future was in running cyclocross races. Right. So I love that venue. I got a lot of history there. I hope to see everybody out there. It's cool seeing all the memories come up in the last few weeks in Facebook and in all the old pictures and everything. So hopefully we see everybody out there. On Bartlett, I am going to do it. I'm going to do my race report, and we're 52 minutes in. So if you hear this and you look at your timestamp for how long this episode is, and if it's 2 hours, then I've done what I normally do. If it's not, then I've succeeded in my task. But basically Saturday, there were 4 people in my race because unfortunately Kurt signed up last minute. And although I was beating Kurt last year, he's been kicking the crap out of me this year, and I haven't been practicing any fundamentals, whereas he's been practicing 3 times a week, So needless to say, Kurt absolutely kicked me to the curb.
He's probably heading to practice right now.
He is actually. We got to practice today. It's starting in like 20 minutes. And I'm supposed to go there after this. So, but he obviously beat me. So he kicked me off the podium, and I ended up being 4th. I will say this, out of the whole day of racing, I think I'm the only racer who did not finish on a podium. So, I have that going for me.
4th out of 4?
Yes.
On an ABR race?
Yes. I understand. I did not get a medal in an ABR race.
Brother, we're twins.
Wait.
4th out of 4 in an ABR race.
Yeah,
nice.
There you go.
Labor Day crit.
Nice.
You guys should get the matching T-shirts.
Yeah.
It's bad. But I mean, it was even worse.
I had such a good time.
I won't even. So Saturday was Saturday. It was fun to be there without a ton of people and to just race.
There was one rider signed up in the ones too. So what the promoters decided, the race director decided to do is we'll just leave this hour blank, and then that rider can race in the next hour with the 4s. It'll be a separate race. They'll have the 1s, 2s. And so Drake Dash didn't race by himself at 2, but he did race by himself with the 4s. He got his win. So what that meant is, long story short, is there's a roadhouse on the property, at the edge of the property. So you were buying lunch for 20 people. I wandered over there and had a double shot of whiskey.
And then proceeded to continue announcing. So, like I said, it was a blast.
Hour and a half to kill.
It was a lot of fun out there. Great music choices, by the way, as well too. But so that was day one. Julie went out and raced. She had a blast. There were 3 in her race. She ended up on the podium.
Worlds.
She absolutely in worlds. Yeah. The Cat 5 World Championship. So
they're not beholden to UCI, USAC.
She was so mad she had to do a second lap. But at the same time,
we had a few riders that were mad that on Sunday that didn't get their extra lap. And I'm like, I'm like, facts matter, right? So I look down at and it's up 39 minutes into a 40-minute race,
right?
And this is like 12th or 15th place, and all mad that they're cutting you. I'm like, no, they nailed it. They nailed it.
So they doing that. I mean, I will say that she was super sore afterwards, and then last night she sent a text, I think, or posted a message to Anthony about the cross practice. And she said, even though I'm still sore, I really had a lot of fun riding my bike on Sunday or Saturday. So I may come to practice. She's not.
If she starts practicing, there's no limit.
Okay. So
a medalist at Worlds already.
There you go. So then we went Sunday CCC race, obviously much larger. Saturday we did all of the masters together, all of us lined up together. Bob never showed up to do
like 17 riders were on the course at one time.
Yeah, he never showed up to do a staging. So we just told Kenny to start reading off the names, and we would do our own staging.
It was accurate. We had everybody. We had 17.
We all knew who we were racing, So
the stager didn't show up to do his job.
I couldn't tell you the last time ABR had a cyclocross race.
That's typical ABR.
It was Bob Lumberg.
Can you guys just take your phones out and film the finish? Because we're not going to get it right.
He was still walking around. I don't know what he was doing before the race, but we all knew what was going on and we knew how to race each other. So the one thing that I did like about it is that obviously you need an ABR license. If you're going to race an ABR race, you can usually buy a one day for $5 online if you're going to do something ABR associated. But the way that Jim did it, just so that it was easier, I don't even remember what the entry fee was. It was like $25 or something.
Yeah,
25. It was
25. I think.
So he was taking basically the $5 out of your entry and covering the one day for you. So he was doing all that on the back end so that you didn't have to mess with signing the waiver and everything. You were signing the waiver anyway. It was just part of the registration process. So he was taking care of the license out of the reg fee, which I thought was a very awesome way of doing it and should help encourage others to come out and give it a shot next year. I don't know if he's going to do 2 days next year. I hope he does. But anyway, the CCC day, it was awesome pulling in the parking lot and just seeing all those people. We saw the lights from, a couple miles out. I think Parker was like, where are we going? Are we almost there? And it was like, hey, look, the lights. We're going to where the lights are.
Field of Dreams.
Don't go into the lights, but we're going to where the lights are. And it was great seeing everybody there, set up tents. We had a good tent city going. And racing was awesome. I lined up higher than I thought I should, but that's left over from better performance last year. Did the race. I was not in a hurry. I was very sore from the day before. My ribs, there's one area that really does hurt when I go really hard, and it's from leveraging all those muscles on your back to lower back to really push hard. And it does bother it. So I didn't want to fight people at the start because I knew we were going right into the off camber, and I knew I was the second turn in the off camber I was going to run anyway. So I didn't want to get in everybody's way on that. I took it easy. I ended up passing John Boggs on the second turn as I was running by him, and I was like, John, you're really fucking up if I'm next to you, which he acknowledged and agreed with.
Best heckle ever.
And sure, very quickly passed me on the next series so that he could get out there and actually get ahead. I got to race against John again, which is fun. Haven't had a chance to do that. John Medrick got out there and we were racing each other. He ended up busting a boa in those off cambers in the first laps. And myself, I had the Sydney going on. I had found a pair of leg warmers in my bag that weren't my primary leg warmers, but I had them. So I'm like, I'll just throw those on. I threw them on, and I was wearing thermal bibs that I had worn the day before. I was just throwing those on to race in again, and they were a little kind of worn out to a degree. Between that and the old elastic grippers and the old leg warmers that I threw on, right after I got off the off cambers on the first lap, they started creeping down on the right-hand side, and they got down to the top of my knee, and I started getting heckled. Pretty much.
I thought it was like a flash dance thing.
It was, everybody was, I did get a heckle. I can't remember where, but I got a heckle from somebody that was like, hey, where'd you learn how to wear those thigh highs? And I just replied with, from your mom, which went over great.
Heckle back, because she was there.
Say hi to her next time. So I had fun with that, but it was really annoying to try to pull those up. And I got to the point where after I tried that like 3 times, I just pushed them down. So they were like mid shin pretty much the rest of the race, which was extremely annoying. So I with that in mind, I don't feel like I really raced well. I just had things on my mind. Like I said, I was turning most of the race. I ended up riding that other pair of wheels I built last year that I glued up with small birds. It's a very light set of wheels. And day one, even though I had the 38 Grifos, I felt like, I explained it to people, I felt like I was an elephant on ice skates. I don't know why I felt like I didn't have much traction on them. They were very smooth.
Half the track is gravel.
Yeah, but I mean, they were smooth all over everything because of the air volume. So it was very nice to ride them. Day two, I rode the 33 small birds, and I got to tell you, I went low on the pressure with 21 and 23, I think, which is low for me. I hooked up like nobody's business. I really enjoyed them, and they rode really well.
There, you don't need 38s.
I don't need 38s. I know that, and they handled better and they rode better. So there you go. Which that should have been a custom made course for those Grifos, but it just wasn't for me for some reason. So I handled it a lot better. I was able to corner it a lot better. Still, it kind of wore on me. I'd say 4 laps in or so. I have 1 lap. If you look at my lap times, which God, no one should ever look at my lap times. It's extremely boring. But 1 particular lap, I think, was 4 laps in. Now Kenny's looking it up. 4 laps in where
let's hear the splits.
They were horrible, dude. They were horrible.
Doesn't matter. If they're consistent, then you were good.
No, they weren't. They weren't. They were all over the place. And they were like low 8 minutes. And then I had one that was like 8:50 something, almost 9 minutes. And that was a lap where the leaders started coming in, and I just didn't want to get in anybody's way.
That should have been the lap you stopped to take your leg warmer off.
I thought about it. I honestly thought about it, but I did stop. I actually stopped, which I have not done in a long time, but I stopped in corners in the other, off the race line to let guys go through. I just didn't want to get in the way. I will say that Jason, as he was coming up, I think he had McNamara was running with him, and they were talking to each other, at one point, and they were kind of trading lead position here and there. And I was watching them, and at one point I was like, "Come on, guys, get up to me!" And they got up and passed me, and Jason goes, "Rob, I think that's the first time I've passed you in like a year, at least." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks for rubbing that in." So that's what I had going for. And then there were a bunch of guys that passed me. And because I got into that frame of mind, I had a rider, Daniel Kurowski from EMC, EMC. And he came flying up on me. And so I made it a point to get out of his way and almost ran into him because he actually took the line that I thought he wasn't going to take, that I was trying to get onto.
Didn't announce himself?
No, but I saw him coming, and I almost hit him. I waved him on. I apologized, whatever, and I got out of his. He's like, "Yeah, no problem." And we finish. I look at the results. That was a pass to get in one position higher than me. I was actually racing him, but I was just in that mindset of let everybody by, that I wasn't thinking about it anymore. So I wasn't even really trying at that point. I just kind of finished it out. So I thought I had a horrible race personally, but I was glad that I put 2 races together and did them both in the weekend. I go and I look at Bike Reg, and I know you say don't look at the Bike Reg stuff, but I go and I look at cross results. That was the best points race I think I've ever had, outside of the 2 podiums that I got in Wisconsin. So, and I asked Anthony right after, I was like, I have no idea. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. And he goes, well, look at the quality of the field. In your 45 plus field, there were only like 4 people that were Cat 4s. Everybody else was a Cat 2 or Cat 1. There were a lot of Cat 3s as well too, but most of them were 1s and 2s.
It's like I break out the 4.5s for podium, and that's this because the 35s I got to go through there, and the 55s and 65s. 45s is super easy. There's like 4 riders.
4 riders at the back.
And I've said on air like a bunch of times is, to me, that is the most competitive category, meaning that 1 through 12, the last 2, 3, 4 years, traditionally 1 through 12, 12th place or so, 15th, it doesn't matter. 1 through 12 is usually about a minute or a little more. It's usually the tightest gap to 12th place of any category.
I looked at the race times afterwards because they're on Biker Edge now for Knopf, and looking at he was within a second for every time. And he was at like 6 minutes or something like that. Most of the field was in 7 something. And then, my times were in the 8s. The 8s started like 2 positions in front of me. So I've got a place to grow and to improve from. So looking forward to this weekend. I'm going to race up in Wisconsin on Saturday morning. We're going up for the 55 or 50 plus Cat 4-5 non-championship, round, because I have raced at that venue before, at that gun club, quail club. I don't know what it is, sportsman club. So a bunch of us are coming up from Illinois and going up there. So it should be fun. And then we're going to hit Campton on Sunday. So looking forward to it. I'm going to go help them set up a little bit on Saturday afternoon. But that's my recap. And that was less than 10 minutes.
Not bad.
I'm trying.
Yeah. And you're
Good job.
Calling Saturday, right?
So I'll be doing the same. I won't be able to help Saturday afternoon set up Campton, but I'll be announcing.
You're calling Saturday where?
Yeah, regionals.
Oh, you're calling regionals. You're going to be up there. Well, I should get a ride with you.
No, you get a front row call up.
There we go. I'm going to try to talk some more people into. Actually, I think I do. If you go by Predictor, I don't know if they do Predictor, but if you go by Predictor, I'm supposed to finish 4th in that race or something like that. Now, granted, Kurt's in there, and Kurt's in way better shape. He staged right behind me. He's going to be. Oh no, he's not in that race. That's in the other one. Anyway, sorry, not to bore everybody. We did get another question from John that I do want to hit up real quick. Talk amongst yourselves. Or you said, here's a context. He's talking about tires. He's got 1 set of tubulars. It's a 38 Limas in the front and a 38 Grifo in the rear. He's got any number of sets of carbon clinchers with TPU or latex. And the choices are the following: Dune, Chicane, Limas, all 33, and 1 38 millimeter Grifo. Again, he never runs tubeless due to his weight and indelicate handling, he says. So with the 3 variables of pressure, tread, and diameter, how would you approach the day? Do you start with tread and then adjust pressure until you need more tread? And where would diameter fit into this at first? Tim, appreciated your advice about what to ride and what makes you comfortable, or to ride what makes you comfortable, which I translate to mean ride the shit out of a tread to the point where you know how to handle it at all pressures in all conditions. That said, some of the fun across is in the tire choice and setup. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading through. There you go. Podcast is great. I'm going to include that. Podcast is great as a recent arrival to the cross scene back in 2015. I love the dedication you guys showed to one of the best disciplines. Agreed.
Yeah.
So what's your thought? How do you approach it with that kind of tire choice?
What did he say he has? He's got
everything.
Limas in the front, Grifo in the back.
On tubulars, he's got 2 tubulars. So 1 set of tubulars, and that set of tubulars has a 38 Limas front and a 38 Grifo rear. Mm-hmm. So like a PDX MXB combo that we used to run.
Yeah. That's not a bad setup. I have 1 set of wheels. That's a mixed batch, but I think it boils down to what are the demands of the track? What does the track look like? How much climbing is there? How much descending is there? How much is it muddy? Is it dry? Like those are the first things you have to come and you usually take into account. And, and then for me, like I'll go to a track, see what it's like, before even walking in and be like, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start, this track looks this way. I'm going to start on the chicane. I'm going to go out, rip a couple laps on the chicane, and it's either going to be good at the pressures I have it at, or I'm going to adjust the pressures. But I'm not going to obsess about it because it's either going to be the right tire for me or it's not going to be the right tire for me. And then I'll go to the next tire in the quiver with a little more traction, being the Griffo. The Griffo, see how that works, and then build up your traction as you go along, and to the point where you get comfortable. I mean, you could probably get away with a minimalist tire, but you're going to have to run it at a very low pressure in order for it to give you what you're looking for in terms of grip and speed. There's a fine balance between grip and speed. The
Yep.
faster you go, the more minimal tire you're going to have to run. But if the track doesn't necessarily call for a minimalist tire, or your skill set doesn't call for a minimalist tire, you need to choose something that's going to afford you to race the way you want to race and ride the speed at which you want to ride.
Yeah, I always
Which
say go heavy
I
on the traction and
yeah,
then get the handling down and then start eliminating traction.
exactly. Like your ego's going to want you to go fast, but you need to check your ego and say, nah, I'm not going to do well if I'm laying on the ground every 100 yards because I want to run a minimalist tire.
Yeah,
You're going to go faster with a tire that has traction and tread and bite, even though it may be a little slower.
yeah,
Why? Because you'll be staying on your bike.
yeah. That or even just because you start hitting the brakes before every turn, just to
Yeah.
bleed off speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was one of my factors in choosing the tires I chose um, for Indy this last weekend. I was talking to Nate Knowles after my race on Sunday. We came in contact with each other. We were talking. I told him, I was like, I didn't want to be. I felt like with the chicanes, like I had all the speed in the world, but I was scrubbing too much of it on entry, and I just wanted to flow all the corners. I didn't want to keep going. I didn't want to do intervals for an hour. I wanted to roll corners nicely at speed. I just wanted to flow real good. And while I could have probably achieved that with the first choice being the chicane, I was afraid of having to go too low in the pressure and then flatting out in that meadow area. So it's
Yeah,
a fine balance, but you got to find what works for you in terms of your ability with handling and what the track looks like.
yeah.
I don't really think it's my opinion. I don't think a 38 versus a 33 really matters if you get the pressure right.
I would agree there. I think you could definitely run a 33 just as effectively as a 38. It is nice to have a 38 from the standpoint of, like I was talking about before, air volume. You can very easily run a lower pressure.
Yeah.
It smooths a lot of things out without really giving up much, in my opinion. But I mean, to your point, in kind of going with what he's got one set of tubulars and then he's got backup. What do you bring with you? I would always start in your tubulars no matter what, and just ride the course and just kind of see what it's like. And I would look at the weather beforehand. So like if the way that I do it when I'm heading to a race is I look at the weather, I put on the bike the wheel set that I think I'm going to ride, and just go in there, set my pressures, and then run it and see kind of how I feel. I will bring one tread below or one tread above, depending on which way I think it might lean.
Hmm.
If I don't know for sure, then I'm pulling two other sets and bringing them with me. So, like, I almost always start with that 38 Grifo set, but I'm actually not. I'm going to start with this Dugas set, small burbs, at least for a little while, because those are lighter wheels and I could feel it jumping out of the turns. I'm going to bring those, and I'm probably going to go bring the Grifo 38s. And if I think it's going to be a wet weekend, I'll throw the Limas in there just to have them on hand. If I think it's going to be a super dry weekend, I might grab the Dunes and drag those out just in case. For what he said for his selection, honestly, I would probably, if you think it's going to be on the dry side, just set up your backup set with those chicanes and run
Did he
those.
say his tubular set was a 38 33?
No, 38 on the tubular, but in the
38
front
38.
is
Okay.
Limas and the rear is
Limas.
Grifo.
I mean, that's not a bad combo.
No.
Like you'll have all the traction you need up front, and
Yep.
you'll have speed in the back, and that's
I
how you want to run it.
agreed. And I would say for you, focus on dialing your handling and dialing that pressure. And just keep going down, down, down until you get the negative side of the pressure, which is going to be when you're too low, which is going to be heavy squirm that doesn't make you feel comfortable if you don't want to work with that, or when you start sliding or bottoming
You'll
out
just
in a lot of
bottom
places.
out. Yeah,
I mean,
no.
I bottomed out in a few places on
Oh,
Sunday.
yeah. It's sketchy if you don't know what it feels like or what it sounds like.
Yeah,
Doom, doom. You just hear
yeah.
carbon hitting the ground. You're like,
And there's
oh, this is bad.
and then there's me. I mean, I'm not the best person when it comes to that because, quite honestly, I don't really care if I destroy wheels. I mean, that's just kind of the way I am. I have that luxury in a way. I mean, although we don't have a pile of wheels here and it still costs me money, but I'm kind of like, you know what? If I'm going to push it until I destroy it, then I'm going to push it until I destroy it. And I don't care what my result is to the same degree a lot of other people do, such as yourself, Tim.
I don't necessarily know that I would do GPUs for cross.
I wouldn't personally.
I wouldn't.
I would
I
run
would.
tubeless. But
Yeah.
then again, though, I don't know if he's running TPUs. If he got a cheap TPU, I think it'd be just fine because when they do pinch, they're going to be a slow leak, way slower than a butyl or latex even.
Yeah.
But I do like the feel of latex in there. Be really nice.
I mean,
Don't
latex
crack a
is
smile.
it's similar to the feel of a tubular.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I don't know. That's we probably did enough on
Just
that.
one last thing. If you're doing a
what he needs to do, oh, I'm sorry, Kenny, real quick. What he should do is take that setup, take that Limus Griffo setup, and go ride it. Go practice with it. Like you
Yeah.
said, Rob, just take a tire, take a hand pump or a floor pump if you have it, and a tire gauge, and say, I'm going to turn, one lap at this pressure. See what it feels like. Then go down from there. Turn it, see what it feels like, and familiarize yourself on both sides of the comfort. Like this pressure is dialed. I love the way this feels. Now let me go above that and see what that feels like.
Yeah.
And let me go below this and see and get accustomed to what that feels like.
And I would, if you're, I would recommend for anybody, don't use the gauge that's on your pump. Go and get yourself an Accu gauge that you can get off of Amazon for like $15, $16.
Yeah.
As long as you're using the same gauge all the time, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And then, you can get those that are in range that have good resolution. What you're really looking for on any gauge is you're looking to put the range of pressures that you want to run if you're running an analog gauge in the middle of the resolution of the gauge itself. So if you think you're going to be running between 15 and 28, then get yourself a gauge that goes from 0 to 50. And you should have pretty good resolution in that range. Because I'm going to tell you right now, every gauge on every pump that you've ever bought is incorrect. And especially, it's incorrect in general, and it's definitely incorrect at the very low end, which, like the pump that we use out at the races every weekend, it starts at 20. I guarantee you that is not accurate. So
like a 1975 Buick, the speedometer isn't accurate below 25 miles an hour.
Right.
You could be going through a parking lot at 5, 20, it doesn't, who knows?
But like power meters, use the one that you've got and reuse the one that you've got so that you've got a base point and you know how you're adjusting.
Yeah.
But
so just one lap, if you had sew-ups and you're going out there and you're trying to get as low pressure
those would
as you
be
want.
tubulars for young kids.
Sew-ups, I love it.
Sorry, tubulars.
No.
That's the lingo. If you bottomed out once per lap on warm-ups, would that be like, you're trying to go as how low can you go? Would you accept that and just be wary at that point of the course to try to lift it a little bit or hop it, whatever it is you don't want to?
It happened to me at Indy. And I was like, 3 times I did it in pre-ride. I was like, oh god damn it, because the first day you're on the outside of the velodrome. You go down the velodrome. You traverse the grass inside, and then the grass transition from leaving the field to going to riding across the velodrome. It looked flat as could be, but I hit it once and it was like boom, boom, and I was like, I think I just flattened my tires. And then I was like, okay, they're good. Went on with the rest of the lap. Went back, did it again the very next lap. I was like, damn it, why didn't I remember that? And then I did it again. And I was like, okay, but I was like, you got to remember that. And every time thereafter that I entered the velodrome on Saturday's race, I was just bunny hop, just do a little
Yeah.
hop right here.
Just lift.
So my answer to that would be, if you're only bottoming out once in one area, stick with your pressures, be mindful of that area, and run it.
Yeah, we used to always say the right pressure was go down, down, down until you bottom out once a lap.
That's what I thought I heard.
You know,
What does Sven always say? One bar.
he said you start at one bar and you go down from there. That's
Go
14.4 psi.
I love it. I love it.
Crazy.
Lower.
I couldn't run 14, but you know, whatever. So anyway, the one thing I did want to throw in that I was getting in the text about earlier is apparently there was a vote in the Senate removing the power of tariffs from the Orange Man.
So China and
It's
stuff
basically it's removing the ability for him to levy tariffs directly on other countries. So I got to tell you, considering that there's been companies going out of business, and now I have got money, I'm bleeding money, and I've had to go to factories direct right now, and basically gone, I'm going to get a bill for $1,000, after I pay for everything else that's going to come in. I'm glad to hear that. I hope it takes place immediately, and I hope there's some go back. But apparently, enough senators crossed the aisle to make that happen.
Wow.
They had a very clear majority. So I hope that's true. Otherwise, you're going to see this entire industry implode.
Right.
So
yeah, it's been really scary.
Bad. It's very bad right now. And every day, literally, I can sit here and look at my email, and it's going to be full of companies going, we're taking a ton off. Linksy or Linsky, they're taking a ton of money off right now. Wolf Tooth, Wahoo.
Lots of manufacturers just completely stopped bringing their products into the United States just because of this, like a year or more ago. So, yeah.
I know. I think I mentioned it. The Challenge got rid of their vulcanized line because that was coming out of China, and they just didn't want to deal with it. So they still offer the product in Europe, but they just decided to stop importing it to the U.S., and they just weren't going to mess with it anymore. So Europe is getting the option of a more inexpensive but high quality product, and we don't get that option because of the situation that we're in. So keep that in mind. Anyway, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you out there this next week. Enjoy the ride.
Bye.